Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls' and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County.
And we're back, and I want to thank Monica for her great job coming here and all the way out to Livingston County and educating us on Secretary of State stuff from her perspective. I got to tell you, I've now had a couple of Attorney General candidates here. We've had a gubernatorial candidate. We've had, now this is our second Secretary of State candidate. I got to tell you, I think we're in good shape in Michigan. I think we got some real strong candidates coming forward here. Also, I have, before I go any farther, somebody watching, put a comment up. There you go, Michael. Thank you, Michael, for that. I was really worried we weren't going to get any comments. So if you typed a comment before and we didn't see it, something was wrong. So please restate it and we'll put it up here and deal with it. So, just to reiterate, next week I have, who do I have next week? I have Mike, gubernatorial candidate Mike Cox next week, and then the following week I have Secretary of State, the third Secretary of State candidate, Anthony Ferlini, Michael Cox, Anthony Ferlini. That's what we're doing. So, and that'll conclude that. I'm still waiting to see if I can get John James on, and let's see, I've invited Anthony Hudson. He was scheduled and then canceled, so he'll get back with me. And so we'll get everybody on there that we can, and if anybody else pops up. So I want to let's talk data center. So data center, and this is important. Anybody that has any questions or thoughts about this data center, respectfully, don't just start bashing. Just ask your questions or your concerns respectfully, and we'll post them, and I'm going to write them down. I have agreed to absolutely dig into this data center situation. I'm not. I feel like it's important that somebody neutral is asking the right questions, asking all the questions. So I have spent the last 5 days, asking people, what are the right questions? I mean, so far we've, of course, everybody's heard this is going to drain our wells for 100 miles. This is going to boost everybody's electrical. This is going to, we're going to have nothing but noise everywhere, for miles. It's ugly to look at. So these are the common things. Every once in a while you get something else that somebody has a concern about. And, I guess everybody's concerns are important. So I don't want to dismiss any of them, but I do want to find out, are they valid? Are they correct? Are they solvable? Is this something that's just a wives' tale, or is this something that's actual issue? So we just need to find those out. And it's one thing to hear a company say, this is what we're going to do, we're going to give you ice cream and clowns. It's another thing to actually see it. So I will say that I have requested and was approved the right to go visit 3 different sites. So I'm going to go visit. I'm going to do my first one on Friday, and I'm going to go see these sites. I'm going to take my charged up phone with a beautiful video camera. I'm going to video what I see. I'm going to record what I hear. I'm going to talk to not only the data center people, but I'm going to talk to some locals as well. I want to know from the neighbors, what do they hear? What do they see? I want to hear from the community. Were these people, did they have any problems? And if they did, were there complaints? And if there were, did the company resolve them? Did they work with the community? What kind of investment have they done in the community, both infrastructure and other investment. I mean, do they sponsor little kids' baseball teams, or do they help? Do they volunteer at Habitat for Humanity or whatever? These things are really important to know. And I'm not telling anybody they should or should not want a data center. What I want to know is make your decision once we find out what the real truth is. I've said this, I said it on Facebook. Anybody that knows me, and probably some of you just heard of me, knows that I'm a straight shooter. I tell you, if somebody calls me, and my friends are giggling right now because they call me and say, all right, I need your opinion on something. The first thing out of my mouth is, okay, you know who you're asking, right? Because I will give it. I will be respectful. I will be polite, but I will tell you what I believe or what I see. So that is why I feel like people know that about me. So I'm going to go. And if I come back and find out that this thing it's like a jet airplane going off in your backyard on 24/7, and that people's electricity are, constant shortages, or their wells are dry, I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, run away as fast as you can. But at the same time, if everything's quiet, I'm going to say, look, this is a bunch of hooey. Now, I went to the American Legion, had a small gathering with the owners with both the owners of the property, that'd be the Van Gilders, and the owners of the company that wishes to, the data center. And they came in, and also two other people. The tax assessor for Howell Township was there, which was huge, because if you don't understand what's going on, and he was key. The second one was the DTE. DTE was there, and they answered people's questions. And I have to tell you that I'm glad that the questions were asked. They were good questions. Some of the people that asked them were just miserable. They were combative. They were arguing. They were long-winded opining, where the American Legion had to say, okay, this is about questions. This is not for you to tell everybody why this is such a huge, terrible idea. So the people that were against it were there, angry, but they weren't listening. Some of them weren't listening. They were just, it didn't matter. They came out with their 4 complaints and their 4 statements that contradicted it. It didn't matter. They still were angry, and they still were, were positive that their complaints were actually valid. I know online on Facebook, I've seen it, and the guy brought it, that this guy drew up a data center and what he thought it would look like based on all the information. And the company, the data center company, looked at it, and I give the guy credit, because he was holding back laughter. He just said, that is absolutely nothing like what it is. And it was absolutely nothing like what the reality was. So I'm glad about that. So anybody that thinks they're, the other thing is I've seen, and this is probably the most concerning thing to me, is all the people who have researched this, that they're now the experts. They know what they're talking about because they've researched it. And all these experts have very conflicting data. They can't all be experts if all of them say something different. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to find out. So part one was call a bunch of people and get the right questions. I'm not an expert in data centers, so I don't know what makes a good one and what makes a bad one, other than what the average layperson does: noise, what it looks like, blight, problems. So, I've got quite a list of really good questions to ask, and I'm expecting more. So, and these are from energy people, energy experienced. I have a contact that I will release the name once I give the answers to the questions, and this person I completely trust, because this person has a great deal of experience in the energy field, and knows the right questions, knows the right answers, knows what to look for and what not to look for. And so I am waiting for that person's questions, that individual's. So his response will be very, very important to me. But he generally said, he did give me the advice that there are different kinds of data centers. There are large ones and then there are small ones. And he said the small ones, it's not that one is good and one is bad, but the smaller ones don't have the resources to really integrate themselves in a community and to make sure that they can handle the problems. So I get that. So a smaller company that wants to come in, you're going to want to do a whole lot more making sure of things, or taking a look at. This one, on the other hand, is a very large one, so that is not going to be a problem. And the person that I'm relying on to give me some information is asserted that a large one is going to invest in the community and is going to invest in the infrastructure. So but I will get that. When I get the answer to that person's questions, I will share them. As of now, what we got, I'm going to start with what we saw from the tax one. So let's go here. So this came from the Howell, the Howell, I think he's the deputy supervisor, but he talks about the tax assessors here, or the tax. So basically what this means is, if you look at the 142.11 on the Fowlerville school debt there, that's in millions. So it's 142 millions of school debt, Fowlerville, that with this data center, it will wipe out. And then if you go up to the top one that has the Howell, where's the Howell one? Where's the Howell? We've got the Howell school. We've got the Howell school operating and the Howell school debt. And the Howell school operating here, where does it go? I can't see this anymore. Hold on. So the Howell school debt goes from 1.375 million to 0. You see that right there on the third line, 1.375 to 0. Why is that? What is that there? There we go. So if you see that third line there, the Howell school debt, where it says Howell schools, 1.375 million to nothing. And then you go down to in Fowlerville also, but let's just stick with Howell because that's what we're talking about. So you've got the Howell school operating, which is 4.5 million. Hang on, where does that go? It brings it down, but if it wipes out the school debt, if it wipes out that school debt, where's the line? There it is. So if it wipes out the school debt, everybody's taxes go down. Now, just so you know that if you're in Howell Township, it doesn't just affect Howell Township. Wiping out the school debt affects everybody in the whole Howell school district. So this would work for Genoa Township, Marion Township, and the same with Fowlerville. Fowlerville school debt gets wiped out, then everybody's taxes go down in the Fowlerville school district. So at Genoa Township, if you're in a Howell school district, it's going to wipe out the debt. So this is a hang on just a second here. I'm going to put an end to some nonsense here. There. Well, that's just how we got to do it. If you're going to be stupid on the show, you're going to get banned. So, anyway, so this is what started off with. So let me just get back on track here because I got nonsense over here going on that I wanted to get rid of. So, all right. It's going to wipe out school debt. So that is important to everybody in the school district, in that school district, whether it's Genoa Township, Howell Township, Howell City, Marion Township. If it's Howell schools, there it is. So that's the first important thing. The second thing was DTE was there, and they reported that first of all, DTE is not allowed by state mandate to create a situation that forces a higher tax rate, a higher energy rate. So they're not allowed to do that. So wait, we got a question here about the schools. Joni, the tax base that this brings in is greater than, and there's a law, it has to be applied to that. So the school debt will be wiped out, both in Powell and Fowlerville. So it's the school debt. So back to where I was. So they're not allowed to create a project that gives a higher rate. So then that increases the rate. So they're not allowed to do that. They said DTE will put in the infrastructure needed in order to run the data center is going to be more than the data center needs because the data center grows. But it also says it will put a downward pressure on rates because they won't have to. They'll be sad. They'll have enough of it. So let's see, where are we here? Where else are we? But they were absolutely positive. They answered a lot of questions about what happens when another data center is built in Michigan somewhere. Will that affect it? No. DTE says they have to apply for another infrastructure. So they're going to put in a new, I don't know if grid is the right word, but a new system that will contain this plus extra. So this is, I mean, it's not going to cause electric to go up. They said it could make it go down because it's going to push the downward usage. So the question about radios, there was for ambulance, or if an ambulance came in, or if a fire department came in, and they had to come into the center for whatever reasons, will the radios work? Yes, they will. They have two different channels, one for emergency, one for like everybody's cell phones and stuff, so it's fine. They said there was assertions both online and in person that the setbacks would be minimum, and so they said that it's going to be significantly greater than the 100-foot setback. So that's required. So they said that they could see that could easily double. So it could be multiple 100 feet setback. So I don't think the people that say it's going to be 50 foot from their road or 100 foot from their house, that's not correct according to them. They said they were very specific to say that they have to complete their studies before they determine where it's going to be, but because they can't put it on wetlands or whatever. Now this is farm field, so I don't know if that is I got to believe that there's not a lot of wetlands or forests on farmland, but I don't know. So they have to have this on paper. They have to do their due diligence. But once they get these reports back, then they can put out a site plan that shows. But they said whoever put that their rendering of what they think it's going to be, he says it's way bigger than the reality of what it's going to do. So of what they need. So they're not, so disregard that. You see that online, disregard it. They've already just said it's nowhere near that. And it's going to be a good setback. So let's see. Somebody asked them about who's going to, are they going to be able to report the usage of the waters, etc. And yes, they have to provide extensive reporting on anything to do with the electric or the water usage or anything else that is extensive, and it is public. They were very clear about that. Let's see. They said there's a couple different ways to do the water. That was a big question. Everybody was, like I said, I'm reading some of this stuff online, and it's, they're going to drain the wells for, and one lady was saying, you're going to poison our water. No, you're not going to poison anybody's water. So they said they have something called dry chillers. I hope I'm saying that right. But you can do a couple different ways. One is that MHOG says they have double the amount that is needed just for this data center. So it per day. So they've got a lot of excess, and it's double the amount that is going to be needed. So they're more than fine with the water. They've got 7 million, in excess of 7 million gallons per day And they said they're going to use less than half of that. So, and that's per day. So, and MHOG has 7 million excess per day. So they're going to be okay. It is not in any way related to or connected to groundwater wells. Let's see. They can do dry cooling if that's what the township wants. Now, the way they say it is they've got the regular coolant, which is fairly quiet, and they've got the dry coolant, which is louder. It's still, he said, even in that case, it is less than the decibels that is required or mandated. Whatever the maximum is less than that. But they also said that they're fully willing to work with the community to give the community whatever security they want as far as sound barrier fences, berms, plantings, that sort of thing. So, I mean, they seemed like they're willing to work. They have that dry cooling, which is the closed loop, where they basically have one pool and they constantly cool it. It goes, it runs, where that one will be a little louder. But still, and I really want to hear that for myself, or at least hear something that's the same decibel. When you talk about decibels, it's easy to say this many decibels or this many decibels. I don't know. Maybe some people out there, I can tell you this many decibels and you can say, oh yeah, that's this. Not me. So what I want to see is I want to see something is, are we talking this decibel, like, is that compared to a jet engine? Or does that sound like a motorcycle screaming down the street? Or does that sound like a school bus driving by? What? So give me an example. This is the decibel level, and something else that's decibel level, or 2 or 3 things, just so you can judge. Is that like a tractor driving by? And somebody made a really good point. They were talking about the noise, and the company said it'll be less noise than the maximum noise now. And they're talking about the Van Gilder farm, of course. And one of the neighbors said, well, it's one thing to hear, Ryan driving by on a tractor, but he doesn't drive back in a tractor all the time, 24/7. He drives on a tractor during the day and stops at night, dark. So, okay, that's a good point. But they said it, not only is it less, but it's going to be, they will block whatever they need to block, whether it's a wall or a berm or both. So, that's fine. So let's see what else. They said that they said they constantly do upgrades. They have to constantly do upgrades. And so the tax base is constant because they're constantly upgrading everything. So that the tax base is just going to be huge. So is that the only reason to get it? No. But Howell Township will be wealthier than any 2 other townships combined. It's going to have a lot of money in it. And see, that's something that I feel like the community needs to think about. If they, and I'm not saying you should give up, if there's problems with noise or problem with blight or whatever, that you should give it up for money. No, that's not what I'm saying. If that's what I find, that's what I will say. But if they can mitigate these issues, or if they can say, no, this is not going to be an issue. Like I said, DTE said today, absolutely not. No problems with electricity. Your electricity is not going to be drained, nor will your costs go up. We can't do that. We're not allowed to do that. Even they did make us, they also explained something else, that in other states are different because the way that the utilities are owned are different. So Michigan's held to a standard because of the way it's structured, where other states, so just because something happened in, I don't know, Georgia, we'll say, it doesn't mean it would happen here because we have different standards, and we have actually a higher standard. So I don't see that that's going to be an issue. But they talked about, the money is just going to be astronomical. So I want people, if their concerns about water and noise and electricity, if that can be resolved, understand this. Start thinking about what you want in your township, because the way this looks, if you want a police department in your township, you're going to be able to afford them. Or if you want to contract with Sheriff Murphy to put 1 or 2 or 3 deputies full time 24/7 to have them in Howell Township, you'll be able to afford it. Do you want to put in a great big town swimming pool, community center or something? You can afford it. There's going to be a lot of things that you'll be able to afford that you could. I mean, it may be that you don't want anything and you just look at the township and you say, all right, you're getting a boatload of money. We dropped our taxes because of the school debt being paid off. We think you should drop our taxes some more. Just take some of that revenue and just lower all our taxes, our property taxes. Wahoo, we can do that. So it is something that you can do. It's something to consider. And that's not what I'm hearing very much of, that this is what they ought to be thinking about. Again, this is if the other stuff can be resolved. Because if there's a problem with water, if there's a problem with electricity, if there's a problem with sound, you don't want it. It's just, you don't. But if those other things can be mitigated, start thinking about what could you buy with that money? Boy, there's a ton of stuff, right? So anyway, what I want to find out too is how many jobs, because I'm hearing, well, they only have 20 or 25. That's not what I'm hearing, but I want to see it for myself. I want to see how many employees these places I go visit have. And I will bring video and I will play it on this podcast. I will show you what I found, what I heard, what I see. We'll play these videos. We have the capability of doing that. So it will, I think it'll be worth my trip to do this. So I will do this. I will get that done. That's all there is to it. So we have Joni here. Says, will they have a town hall for the public? So you can hear what we've heard. From what I understand, yes, they're doing their due diligence. If they decide in a week, we can't get this done or whatnot, or DTE says, well, we're not going to be able to do this power or whatever, and they don't do it, then they're not going to have a bother with a town hall. But I think if there's a, if the boxes are checked in the next couple weeks, where they feel like this is a worthwhile thing, that yes, I think they're going to have a town hall. I know I've asked for it. I know a lot of people have. So today's meeting was for the American Legion, and it was American Legion members only and some guests. So I would guess 30 to 50 people there, maybe. And it was, like I said, there were some people there that were absolutely obstinate about, they didn't want it and they didn't care. And I'm sorry for that, because I don't like, I have a strong respect for people that form an opinion, but then if new information comes along, the opinion adjusts. People that just dig in and don't want to hear anything more, I don't have a lot of use for. So I'm really hoping that Howell Township, I know a lot of people in Howell Township, and they're very respectable and they're intelligent. So I think it's important that people ask questions. And I've seen this thing spiral out of control with so much misinformation. And you know what? That doesn't help anybody. That's like lying on a job application to get the job. You've cheated everybody else. So, and you're not qualified to be there. So, all right, let's find out. Make your decision with the facts. If the facts are good, vote yes. If the facts are bad, vote no, meaning tell your township. But I feel like so far I've heard a bunch of the misinformation absolutely wiped out. Not all of it. And there's more to go. So hang in there. We're going to, like I said, Friday, I'm going to make my first trip. So look at next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, we have Mike Cox coming in, and I will report afterwards. I will post whatever videos, and I will show people videos of the noise of the site. I'm going to interview people, and I'll post some of them. So, but I think it'll be worthwhile, and I think it'll be, I think it'll help people make the right decision. Whether it's yes or no, we need to find out the facts. Voting yes or no on rumor and speculation, especially misinformation, is I just think that if this all pans out, which I'm not saying it will, but if it does, the Howell Township could be missing out on this wonderful chunk of money that will better their community and wipe out their own, lower their own taxes because of garbage, right? Because of misinformation. And that should never happen. That's like, it's like, and we're talking about the importance of a honest Secretary of State, because nobody should ever question the validity of a election, right? They have to be everything has to be correct. Then it works. This is the same. This is similar anyway. We have to have the correct information, then make your decision. If you don't want it when you have the correct information, well, then you've based your decision on truth. But the nonsense that I've seen is some of it. But somebody claimed it was going to be 50 feet from their house. Unless they have a tree house in the middle of the farm, no, that's not going to happen. So, all right. Well, that is, I think, everything that I took the notes on. I really feel like they did a very good job. I'm going to be inviting, once I get this investigation done, I'm going to try and tackle a chunk of it every single week. Obviously, otherwise that I'm having my own town hall, so I don't want to do that. But what I will do is, what I learn, I will do. I'm going to try and get the DTE guy on the podcast, so we'll be able to ask questions and talk to him and hear from him. He did a great job of explaining why. I'm also going to try and get the tax information better explained. I'm not a tax person. Property taxes and how they go in school bond taxes. I'm not the expert there. I have the paper here, and everybody assured me that it's going to be not a problem. Also, I'm also on the understanding from that there's no drain issues either. I'm going to try and get the drain commissioner on to answer some questions, as well as the MHOG people, if I can. But this is, so far the questions that were asked so far, there was nobody that said, no, that can't be done, or no, that's just a problem. So I will talk again next Tuesday. Anyone has any questions, or the questions, and when I say questions, I mean sincere questions. I don't mean, we don't want this, stop talking about it. I don't mean that stuff, but the real questions of find out if they this, find out if they don't do this, make sure that those kind of questions, email me at chair@livingstonrepublicans.com and send your questions to me. I will try to get them. I'll try to get them all answered. I'm collecting quite a little file. So I'm going to, like I said, I'll be good old Tyler here over here is helping me. He is right there. So there it is, chair@livingstonrepublicans.com. Send me your questions. Tell me what I should be looking at. Tell me what I should be looking for. On Facebook, I posted these same things. I got how many jobs. I got, what is, obviously the electric, the light, the sound, everything else. But I also got some other good ones too. So if you got some good questions, send them to me. What do we, especially if you're in Howell Township, what do you need to know before you'd be okay with this? What that's the question. That's the question right there. If you live in Howell Township, what is it about this? What could make you comfortable? If that is nothing, then you're dug in. So okay, I don't care. But if you are dug in, if you're concerned but not necessarily dug in, what would it take? Like what do you need? Do you need a DTE statement? Do you need a statement from other electrical places, like Ohio electrical statement? Do you need you want to hear from a neighbor? Do you want to, what is it? What should I be looking for? And what do you think I should ask? What is it will make you feel better about this? Or if they do this, I will never be okay. That's what I want to hear. Not you'll never be okay either way. That's useless. But what's important is if they do this or if they won't do this, I'm a big no. That's important. So let's get those kind of things to me by email, and then I'll try and get them. I'll try and get all the answers for you. Hopefully by next week, but if some of them are, I have to do a lot of digging or research, it may take the following week, but I will answer all the questions I can get. So I hope, I'm really looking forward to finding out what we find out, because I feel like, Howell Township I grew up in Howell Township. I don't live there now, but I grew up there, and it's a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place. I grew up kind of right around the corner from where that data center is going to be. So I get the area. I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, that I know that there's a big hue and cry to get to go down and tell the township no, or don't let, no matter what, let's say no. Okay. But here's what I want people to understand, that I suspect if they wanted to sell that land, if the Van Gilders wanted to sell that land to a developer, you'd have people yelling, "Oh, we don't have enough water." Or, "Oh, they're gonna, we don't have enough, our schools, we don't have enough schools big enough," because on 1,000 acres you could put a whole lot of houses. So we don't have schools big enough for that. That's gonna, oh my God, the emissions, the electrical, the everything is gonna go crazy, and they're gonna fight it. And again, if the township doesn't rezone it because the residents are pounding on the table, then, they can do that. But here's the deal, and this is what you need to understand, that Governor Whitmer put in a initiative last year. It's PA 233 of 24. It is the solar or renewable energy initiative that she changed the law. So you cannot vote no to any renewable energy. So solar farms, wind turbines, that sort of stuff, you don't get to say no anymore. That power resides in Lansing. She's got a year left, a little over a year, right? 14 months left on her ticket. She wants as much of this as possible because she put out this big initiative that she wants to be totally green by XX. So, of course, this is one of the reasons we're fighting so hard, because look around you in the surrounding communities, right? Look how they're fighting these solar farms, and they're going to have to take them to court. And that means paying an attorney, and that means fight, because I have yet to see a situation where anybody's property values went up when you have that many solar panels. Somebody has it in their backyard, that's fine. And I want to make it clear, because I'm going to catch hell over this. I'm not against solar farms where people want them. If Gregory Planning Commission or Stockbridge or Green Oak, for that matter, said, yes, we want solar, and we want a zone for them, and we want wind, or we want solar, that's their right to do. The community voted for these electeds make the decisions. That's exactly what they wanted to do. And if they want to do that, then they should be able to do it, right? What I dislike about the solar and the wind is that no longer can they say no. I mean, they can say no, it won't matter, because the power resides in Lansing. And I'm going to get some kind of comment or complaint in the next day or two and say, "Oh, actually, you can take them to court. You can do this. Yes, you can do all that stuff." I always say this when it comes to, you can take them into court. I say this, I've been married to an attorney for 34 years. I have 3 paid for houses, right? And they were paid for by people who were right. Okay, just so you know, you can be right. You can have a right to do something, but you still have to pay the stinking attorney to do it. And it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. Right now, the law rests on the side of so they could jam that right in, and you'd have to fight, and you'd have to take them to court and maybe stall them or maybe not. But again, that's a whole lot of money that your township does not currently have. So it's not something I would take lightly, because if they can't develop this land in a way that will benefit everybody, they're going to do solar. Solar is leased, so there isn't that great big benefit. So understand that. And then you think your properties are going to be affected by a data center in the middle of 1,000 acres, by the way, or that they said they're going to leave at least 40% of it greenland, untouched. So what happens when you got 1,000 acres of solar? If you don't think your next door neighbor is going to be as your property, who's going to want to buy that? Nobody wants to own a house next to a solar field. So good luck trying to sell it if you decide you want to sell it. So be careful that if you absolutely want to fight these data centers, and I've seen people say, I'll take solar over data anyway. Oh my God, you better check the facts on that one. So you have no say in the solar. With the data center, you can negotiate. You can negotiate for certain things. Negotiate. Always negotiate. Don't ever let that negotiation take place. So anyway, I just wanted that really clear and set out there. So looking forward to your questions. Looking forward to Friday when I find this out. And most importantly, I'm looking forward to seeing all of you at our big dinner tomorrow night, our Reagan dinner. I had 5 tickets bought today, which is the day before, which I'm not going to complain about. I'm happy people are coming. So understand this, you can still sign up. If you have not signed up for that dinner, go to livingstonrepublicans.com. That's already up there. Just take the chair off there and just go livingstonrepublicans.com, and you'll see the dinner, you'll see the thing. Sign up, buy a ticket. It's $100, includes your food and your beer, wine, and soft drinks. Also, we're going to have some line dancing, and also we have some beginning square dancing. We have Secretary of State candidates, Attorney General candidates, gubernatorial candidates. So it's just going to be a hoot. Nobody needs to get a dress. Nobody needs to get dressed up. We will cut your tie if you walk in with one. So blue jeans, sneakers are fine. You want to wear cowboy boots and cowboy hats. I bought a cowboy hat, so it's going to be, so that right there might be worth coming. See Debbie in a cowboy hat, but it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a pig roast, and it's just going to be fun. We also have a bucket drawing, got some door prizes where, we draw your ticket, you win. So it's going to be fun. I just cannot say enough about this thing. And I have to once again commend Michelle Blondeel, who has worked and worked and worked on this. So, she and I have spent a lot of hours on this thing. So I just really super appreciate her help and how hard she's worked on it to make sure that this is just going to be a fantastic thing. So, all right, everybody, thanks for participating. Thanks for watching. For those of you who were at the Right to Life dinner, glad to see that you caught up with us, and we'll see you at the dinner tomorrow night. Go sign up. You will not regret it.